Ha, nice spot. The question remains for me, to vlog or not to vlog? Over the last 10, 12 years, I've probably asked myself that a few times. Only back then it was called a blog, or I even wanted to write a book. So it's always been on my mind. I've always had the need to somehow put something into like a way of presenting it and then sharing it with the public space. But I keep running into the same problem that takes the steam out of it. Self-doubt. Why would anybody listen to me? Like, I think I got all this wisdom, but honestly, no. Now that I'm older, I realize a lot of this stuff is pretty obvious and almost embarrassing to interpret it as an epiphany or like some deep wisdom. So starting something and just running out of topics or running out of context or the inability to kind of bring it back to a conclusion. Is it a midlife crisis? Maybe it's a midlife crisis. But then again, could be memoirs, so why not start up again? Or I meet somebody that inspires me and I kind of start up and do something again and lose the steam again. So I never really took it seriously enough. It always just was and remained an inspiration, and I just completely failed on the follow through. So here I am again, asking myself, and just given the fact that I've recorded this now, probably in the course of the last week, this is the 6th or 7th time, I did the entire thing, and it just is witness to how much overthinking I'm doing. I hope this is the last take. I would watch my dad edit 8mm films. You remember those? And he had this machine up in the attic on a desk with a little projector in the middle, and the reels are on this side that you move by hand. And so at night, before I go to bed, I would crawl up the stairs, these really steep stairs into the attic, and I would come there and see him sitting in front of his editing station and then clip it right at the right moment, and then glue it back together with the next scene and keep going. And it was just, there was a magic to it, how he was editing these movies. And then later on we watched them, family holidays. I loved that. So later on, he had the VHS camera, like this humongous boxy thing that you put on your shoulder. And I was inspired there, and I was older already, probably around 8, 9. And I set up this camera with this immense bright light that you put up, and it's almost like I created my little studio, and I set up a chair and a desk, and I played news, but in a goofy way. I would dress up in various costumes, and I had this other thing about wanting to become an inventor. I love playing with Lego, only that I never built was one in the box. I would buy the sets based on what blocks are available in the different sets. I would never buy it for the actual item that the set was, and then build my own stuff. Loved that. And then I had all these ideas of how to figure things out. I would take things apart and then not know how to put them back together. But just taking them apart in an attempt to repair them and then putting them back together and fail at it. By the time I had the reputation of, I remember my dad always said, Nico was here. So when something was broken or kind of halfway dismantled and not put back together, he would be like, Nico was here. And then came that turn when I actually became good at it in fixing stuff. So that's my early childhood. When I lived in Switzerland already as a teenager, my parents had separated. I continued to experience this joy of creativity. One was a anti-smoking campaign that was initiated by a marketing company, and they approached the school and said, "Does here's a call for your students to come up with like a concept or for anti-smoking." And I don't know even why, but I was drawn to the the process or the idea. And at the time I was doing martial arts. And so I came up with this big poster of a martial artist in his white gi with a black belt, and he was punching this ginormous cigarette, and it broke in half, and it's like splattering all over the place, breaking apart, and in the bottom it said Der entscheidende Schlag, the determining punch. Had a lot of fun doing it, from idea to concept, how am I going to present this, and then I made it. I suck at graphics, like hand graphics, but it looked good. It was fun to do. And I submitted it, not really thinking much of it. Of course, you always have the hope that maybe they like it. So, but realistically, I thought, nah. And then I won. And I remember that feeling, this disbelief of that something I created would actually create that kind of reaction and recognition. And aside from the money that I won, which was at the time quite a bit for that age. And then there were school performances, as in theater. We were lucky enough to have a German teacher who was also a drama teacher, and he loved theater. So regularly he would put on plays with us. And the process I loved. I hate learning speaking by heart. So I had to learn to push through that. I still remember some of the lines now. The camaraderie among each other, and the way that he was guiding the class through the process, and then later on the overcoming yourself to go on stage and then present this to an audience. And the moment you step on stage, all the nervousness disappears. So the phenomenon of overcoming yourself when you present something that you've created or you've worked on, and something that really fascinated me, aside from all the fun that we had. And then in German class, my native tongue, I really suck at German grammar. And the only thing that kept me afloat with my grades was essays and presentations. So I really enjoy using language and words to express something. When it came to presentations, same thing. I really was fascinated with the process of don't want to learn it by heart, so bullet points, much like I'm doing now. And then just kind of talk freely to the different topics. Of course, you kind of practice beforehand and all that. And then, when it came time to present, this overcoming yourself. Because it's actually quite personal, right? You're nervous because you're presenting something that you care about, that you put a lot of work into. And then you overcome yourself, and then the reaction kind of shows you how well you did. And that process alone fascinates me. It's the thinking of something, executing it, and then life will just tell you did well or you did bad. I did this one presentation in cooking class. I was given the topic egg. What do you talk about with an egg? And I look over, and my best friend, he was like, meat. I'm like, wow, meat is great. Like, man, you can talk about the cows and the chickens and the pigs and how they are kept, and the sustainability side of it, and the ethical side of it, and the industry, how it works, and how farmers work compared to mass industry. There was so much that I immediately thought about how I could talk about meat, but no, I had the bloody egg. Until I realized, wait a minute, I can bring a bunch of eggs, and I can engage my classmates, my audience. Bowl of water, you put the egg in there. If it floats, it's fresh because of the little air pocket that's still there, that's inside the egg. The architecture of an egg. Fascinating, because in the oval shape, if you push the two points, it's strong. It's a very strong structure. So I could bring the eggs and have my classmates be engaged and try it out. Put it in a bowl of water. Try the pressure on the tips, and then try the pressure on this side. When you push on this side, the egg collapses. And so on and so forth. So I found all these ways of engaging them. And then I got the best grade. My best friend, got a medium grade, and he was all pissed off at me because it's like, how do you do so well with a bloody egg? So what do I want out of this? Now that I've reflected on all these things that I talked about, The creative process is what fascinates me, and the learning fascinates me. And I, of course, in the meantime in my life, I realized that the learning happens in the creative process. Doing this vlog for me is another project in which I want to learn. I want to learn to speak more fluently, to stop using filler words, to learn how to focus on a topic. And I want to share it, and I want to share it. Why? Why do I want to go public? Because it puts pressure on me. If I commit to this and not like drop it again like so many times before, if I commit to this and I present it to an audience, there's pressure, and I perform much better, I work much better under pressure. And so there's commitment, there's the pressure, and hopefully that will drive me to keep doing more. And if I do more, I'll become better at it. Because this is another thing this is one of these things where it's obvious, and most people will know this. The more you do something, the better you get at it. There's a book about it too, where I think it's 1,000 times or 10,000 times. You do something 10,000 times and you become an expert, or is it even 100,000? I'm gonna have to Google that, look it up. I forgot. But essentially, the more often you do it, the better you get. And so I hope to do that. Better speaking, better editing, better filming, better everything that is connected to this, and use it to talk about things that I'm passionate about. And there's a lot. There's not just design and build. I got so many different kind of philosophies and spirituality. And of course, we'll start probably with traveling. Learn about different cultures, learn about different sensitivities, meet people, hear their stories. So I figured that's a good place to start. That's why probably there are so many travel vlogs, but I don't really want this to just become a travel vlog. It's called Life is Boring, because Jess and I believe that within boredom is a space. There is some calmness in it that allows inspiration to rise, that allows you the quiet to listen and to reflect, and then move out of there with Tatendrang, the urge to do something. So yeah, that's what I want out of it. I want to be bored. I want to reflect, I want to learn, and I want to be creative. So in conclusion, I really have no excuses. Without Jess, this would be a no-go. She sees how much fun I have doing it, and so she supports it, and I get the occasional eye roll, which is reference. Our last trip to Europe, I learned two things. One, Jess basically said, look, this now with your new gadgets and your new camera, and the whole thing felt more like a production. You were constantly setting up and finding angles, and yes, obviously you were having fun, but it didn't feel like, a lot of the times it didn't feel like we're on this trip together. So that's a no-go. I can't do that. I had to, I didn't feel like it, because obviously I was having fun, and I got sidetracked, I guess. I lost myself into the fun of it, and she just felt alone. And the second thing is, and that one we picked pretty early, is our first places this holiday was Switzerland and Germany, and people there are just way more conservative and way more private, and we noticed that right away. When the camera came out, mind you, I have a theory, because when you film by phone, people don't have such a hard time with it. But if you have a designated camera set up that you film with, people shy away. Not everybody, but a lot of people shy away. And it's such a contrast to Asia. When we traveled in Asia and I would film, mind you, again, that was only my phone at the time, so it could be the phone. But I'd like to see it as culturally, it was way easier to show, to film in Asia, in all the Southeast Asian countries that we went to. Also because there's a lot of other people filming. And yes, maybe the locals kind of get tired of it, but it just wasn't such an issue. It didn't strike me as a problem. Whereas in Europe, it kind of, you instantly realized, whoops, they prefer their privacy. Switzerland, we went, this was one of the first ones that we went to a flea market, Filming at the flea market became difficult because there's a lot of people and I saw a lot of people shy away. So I had to figure out a way of how do I film it respectfully. And the other one was Markthalle in Basel, the market hall, old market hall. They converted into a food court, and they have this specialized beer place in there that sells craft beers from the region, and have all these nice chrome taps lined up on the wall with beautiful oak handles. And I wanted to film that. And I immediately saw some staff that suddenly became hesitant of walking up to to fill the glasses with beer. In some cases, I started asking people, "Is it okay? Can it is okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." Or you do it discreetly so it doesn't feel like an invasion. Mind you, even there in Greece, I got into trouble filming a priest. We were in a monastery, and even Jess, who has no qualms in telling me when I screwed up, but in this case, she basically said, "Yeah, there's no way you could have known." In all the interior spaces, there were signs saying, "No filming, no filming, no documenting. This is a private space. Do not pull out your camera." It was very clear. Outside, not so much. That's why everybody was filming. And for some reason, I got into trouble because there was one of the priests that came out and was doing like the call to mass ritual, and he came around the corner and saw me and the camera, and then became very unpriestly, to say the least. He just like totally ripped into me in Greek, and I would have loved to kind of respond, but I just bow your head. That's all I had. I felt like a little boy. Having said all that, I don't think there is any excuse to not start. If anything, there is, now that I went through this multiple times, recording myself a few times and thinking about what I'm going to say, I now have more reasons to do the vlog than I don't. Most of all, the support of my wife. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to vlog. I wonder if I have to film again.